Alright, so for my senior project, I decided to do a volunteer-based project up at the New Hampshire Veterans Home located in Tilton. It's about a half-hour commute for me, so it was a bit of a long day every time I volunteered up there. So for this project, worked a total of about 115 hours, most of that being in the class, and the other being the volunteer hours. And I did some research. The volunteer hours cannot be transferred over to regular volunteer hours, unfortunately. So this was the volunteer schedule. I worked there for about 6 weeks, 2 days a week, about 8 hours a week. Most of it consisted of working in something called the Sunshine Cart Closet, which I will get to later on. But actually volunteering at the home is something that really took me to heart, because the guys up there, they've been through a lot, and they need some help making it through their final years. And so the research paper I did it on was how the veterans transition back and forth from civilian life to military life and all that, and how they settled down into a home such as the one in Tilton. And actually volunteering at the home is pretty amazing when I actually went there. And this is the front of the building when you come in first, see the home. And right here, this was my first assignment up at the Veterans Home pond, and you can see up in the corner right there, there's Ed trying to catch some fish, but that was a bit of a slim picking that day. There was just a bunch of turtles. And right here, this is the rec room where most of the veterans can spend their time. And tell them, I'm going to ask you this only once. Have you ever seen 95-year-old guys play Wii bowling? No. No? Alright, well, it's pretty amazing. Those guys are actually pretty good at it. Alright, here, and this is the town hall. This is where more of the larger events take place, like small concerts, bingo, where they take place to do bingo. Sometimes where they have special meals, like on Memorial Day or Veterans Day. And this is the chapel. I don't know what was going on there that day, but I figured it may have been a memorial service for some of the guys who may have passed away in the home, unfortunately, but I'm pretty sure those guys would remember them well. And they also have a barber shop, which is pretty nice. And they get it for free, which is actually kind of nice as well. I like to get my hair cut for free. And they also have a physical therapy training center, which is for some of the veterans who can move around more than others, who can walk or still have mobility of their legs. And then one of the things that really struck me was on the tour that Ms. Punderson gave me, which was the person that I mainly worked with on this project as my content mentor. This was called The Ride Home, which is a strip of a hallway that shows the ride home that these guys took after coming home from the war, or any war that they've been to, whether it be World War II, Korea, Vietnam, so on. So obviously it would start with coming home on the airplanes, working their way back to the aircraft carriers, coming back home on the bigger airplanes, and then going back on their cruise ships, and then back heading to the States, seeing the Statue of Liberty, and then coming home on the bus and the car, and then seeing the roads and the rivers that they live nearby on their farms. And then here you are, home with your family finally, seeing your barn or your house, all the stuff that you would remember and have to start your new life. And now the Sunshine Cart. The Sunshine Cart is essentially what the veterans is something for the veterans that would allow them to get their toiletries, such as like toothpaste, mouthwash, dental floss, denture cream, all that kind of stuff. And sometimes in the cart they have puzzles, notepads, stuff for writing letters to family or loved ones. And it's pretty amazing. I worked in there, and the closet was an absolute mess, and that's why I kind of see how messy that is. That's not good. I spent I'd say at least 20 hours of that project in there. And that's the actual cart right there. If you can't see, that is the actual cart with all the stuff on it. And this is the cart in action. This was a slow day because the guys were up at Fenway Park watching a nice Red Sox game. And they do that. They go on these nice long trips, which is actually kind of amazing to do that. I think one day they actually went to a Fisher Cats game. I can't remember when that was, but that was also kind of a slow day. But actually working with the residents are actually pretty awesome. You think that it's a nursing home, you think it's all dreary and kind of low life, but it's actually not. These guys are up and around trying to find something to do. Right here, these are the guys I was talking about. These are the guys playing Wii bowling right here. I think he just got a strike on that one when that happened, but these guys really love to move around. These guys love to do something. And this is a quote that Lisa Punderson told me during the interview. These guys are only bored if they choose to be bored. And given that with our day and age that we're always on our phones with social media, not always talking to each other through the phones and actually talking face to face, that's what these guys actually talk to each other, face to face, unlike us, unfortunately, who have moved too much with the times. And right there, that's Pete. Played a nice game of billiards with him. He actually kicked my butt at billiards, which was actually pretty nice. And this is the bingo hall for that day. I worked with Pete right there. I got him $1, which is good. You got to give these guys a reason to play. You got to win. First person I worked with when I played bingo, I worked with Don. He was also a very nice guy. I actually got him to win the big bucks of $16, which is pretty good. And here the guys are. They played mini golf, and there's Ed again, back from when he went fishing. These guys play mini golf. They always want to try and keep the mobility. And what one of the guys told me that worked there, he said that these guys are in a lot of pain, and they do these activities to forget that pain and put their mind to something else and keep them moving mentally and physically, so that they can enjoy their final years as best as possible. And there's that again, playing some more mini golf. There's a bunch of these guys are just amazing. The resident population is about 200 residents, and most of them consist of the men, about 180 of them being men and the 20 being women. And right here, this was the final day that I worked there. This was a little concert right here. This is the dining hall, the main dining hall, where the veterans mostly come and work or eat in here. And the guy singing right there, that's Bob back there. I got to meet him before he started singing. He's an amazing guy. He's been doing this for about 10 years, singing for these guys, which is pretty amazing to me. And also, the unit that I mostly worked with was the TAR unit, which is the medical unit, with people who were mostly on prescribed medication. And the other unit was the Life Enhancement Dementia Unit, or the LADU unit, which was the guys who had started developing dementia or some form of Alzheimer's, which I didn't really have the qualifications to actually go and work there. And so, what I got from this project has actually shown me that at a point we're all going to get there, to be their age, whether we serve or not. And we have to make the best of our life as we can. And these guys had shown me that they had made the best of their life, serving or not serving for their country. And one of the things that I asked during my interview was, what happens when a resident there passes away? And what she said was that there's something called a resident council, which is like the student council for the school, so that the residents have a say in what goes on in the home. And what happened at first is that when a resident passed away, they had quickly taken the passed away residents and the roommate was told by the resident council not to speak of it as much as a lot. And then there were rumors going around about what happened, so the resident council approached I believe it was the commandant at the time, and they said, we need to change this, we're going to try and formalize the passing away, and what they came up with was the final salute. The final salute was something that they had done to make their final goodbye meaningful. So what they did is that they lined up by the main elevator in the lobby, and they would take the body and process it through and go out to the front of the building, about right where the first slide was, and they say a eulogy, and then they give a final salute and they play taps, which is obviously a little bit more, a little bit better rather than keeping it hush-hush. So this project really showed me that these guys, they can still do anything that we can do, whether they're in a wheelchair or still able to walk, which is pretty darn amazing. You get that. And that was my project, I believe. Yeah, that's the end of the project. You guys got any questions?
Michael, if you had anything to do differently with your project, what would it be?
I would go back there again, because I want to because another man approached me about a project to expand on that, is to get the stories from World War II vets and compile them into a book, which wouldn't be a bad idea. Peter?
You involved with any of them?
I did not, unfortunately. Any more? Well, thank you.